Hi guys, this video is going to go through setting up your hosting and domain for a WordPress installation. We're then going to install the Oshine theme and set up some basic modules and apply some basic settings in WordPress to get you started. We won't cover in great detail purchasing and setting up a hosting platform. This is something you can do pretty easily on your own, and you'll be sent instructions on how to set up your cPanel. Once you have a cPanel, a control panel for the back end of your hosting account, then you can point your domain there and build your website. Now I've set up a hosting platform to receive the domain chisholmlearner9.tk, and I've set up a username and a password. So I'm now going to purchase a free domain and I'm going to go for a .tk domain. And it will recommend the .tk, which is free. You can get one of these ones as well if they suit your purpose better. However, if you're building a real website, you should be buying a .com, or for an Australian business, a .com.au. $15 a year is, a small price to pay, and you'll want that reliability. Customers will also expect to see .com.au, but this is good for practicing. Alright, so I'll just do that again. I'm going to get chisholmlearner9.tk . You will need an account, a Freenom account. And before you finalize it, just set up the DNS settings so that you can point it to your website. You'll be given a name server address. There's a name server 1, name server 2 usually, sometimes 3 or 4 as well. So you might have to put some information in here, or you may do that while you set up your account. I haven't found any issues so far with these free domains for testing, so you should be alright. But as I say, if it's for a real website, you want to buy a proper domain from GoDaddy or Crazy Domains or somebody like that. Now this will happen at first. It'll take just a little while for your new domain to propagate across the internet. I'm going to pause the video at this stage and we will continue again shortly. Alright, now we're back, and when you see index of after refreshing your new domain name, that means you're seeing the index of the empty files that are currently sitting on your hosting platform. What that means is that the domain has propagated and we can access our domain. So as I said before, you would have set up your cPanel. You should be able to get to your cPanel just by typing /cPanel on the end of your domain. Now I did pause the video for a little bit there, and I can tell you that it really only took about 3 minutes. I checked in three to 4 minutes and it was already like this. That's been my experience so far with the propagation of domain names via that Freenom, those free domains. So I'm going to go to the cPanel now, and I'm going to log in with the user credentials that I need. And I'm now on my cPanel. Depending on which hosting account you buy and how you set your cPanel, there is a more modern appearance that you can have, which is called Paper Lantern. If you have Paper Lantern, that's okay for most of what we're going to do. As you can see, it looks a little bit more modern, so it is a newer version of a cPanel. I'm going to switch back to the X3 version. Because I feel like that's a better option to cover all our bases. So anyone's using the older version, they won't have any problems. Now, one of the first things I am going to do is use a tool to install WordPress. In this case, I'm going to use Softaculous. And I'm going to choose to install WordPress. If your site has SSL or you're planning on instantly installing SSL, then you can choose that protocol. If you're not sure what that means, you can choose this and you can get help from an expert, or you can do some research later, install an SSL certificate on your site and make those changes later. So it's not set in stone. I'm actually going to go back to the cPanel for a minute because if you do get your hosting with SiteGround, you're going to have access to a free SSL certificate. And that might not mean a lot to you now, but it's a big deal. You, at some stage, regardless of what you choose now, you are going to want and you're going to understand the value of having an SSL certificate on your site. So I'm going to go to the security section. I'm going to choose Let's Encrypt. And I want to install a certificate on this domain. Now it's already telling me that it's there. I'm going to choose to enforce it. I'm going to leave that as it is. Now I'm just going to go to my SSL TLS manager here and just see what it tells me is happening. Generate view upload. I'm going to have a look here and see what I've got. Okay, so on chisholmlearner9.tk and www.chisholmlearner9.tk, on both of those I have an SSL certificate. Now, this Let's Encrypt, these normally cost a couple of $100s to buy, sometimes a bit less, sometimes they can cost several hundred to get them installed for you, and it can be quite a process. Alright, I'm going to go back to Softaculous now and install WordPress. I don't need to change any of that. Now, unless we're purposely going to try and install WordPress into a subdomain, we leave this blank. We want to install in our home directory. That just means that when a user comes to visit our site, the first thing they're going to see is our WordPress installation and the way we've set it up to appear to them. So most of the time you want to leave that. whatever your business is. Now don't leave the description blank for now, otherwise the installation won't complete. You can change this later though. Now you can use your own personal email here, or something that is always going to be reliable. An email that's not going to be inaccessible in the future. If you've already set up mail on your own domain somewhere, then that's fine to use that. But just keep in mind that if something goes wrong with the site, something may also go wrong with your email account. So if I was trying to use an email address such as admin@chisholmlearner9.tk because I had that set up with my hosting platform, if something goes wrong with the site as a result of the hosting platform, I may not be able to recover access to my WordPress installation because I'm also not receiving email. So I like to use something that is independent, such as my Gmail address. I just double check everything. Now, if you've got a reasonably fast hosting account, you probably won't have to wait very long. If that takes a long time, keep in mind that you might have a little bit of a slow hosting account. You might want to change your mind about that before you go down the road of building a really big website. All right, so I'll see what we've got now. I'm going to right-click Open Link in New Tab and just check this out. This is my website, so that looks pretty good. I think that's all worked okay. And I can also go to my login page. Let's have a look. And it's logged me straight in, which is good. I now have WordPress set up on a server. I have a domain pointing to that server or to that hosting platform. I'll keep my descriptions consistent. So I've got a domain pointing to my hosting platform and I have WordPress installed on that hosting platform. I like to keep a few tabs open here. I probably don't need Freenom anymore. I've changed the name servers. I'm going to close that. I don't need my information for my cPanel anymore because I've logged in there as well. I'm going to close that. So I've got my cPanel here. Go to Home. I've got my WordPress front end and my WordPress back end. Now, as we discussed in class, you can go to Appearance Themes and upload your installation through here, your installation of Oshine, sorry. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. It just means that it takes a bit of time, and sometimes what happens is because this is technically a web page that we're looking at right now, it can time out, and dependent on some of your server settings, we don't want things like that happening. So we're going to skip this interface and we're going to upload the files manually. Now to do that, I need to find my file manager on my cPanel. And these are all of my WordPress folders and files. As you can see, there's a lot of them. So we're going to go to WP Content and Themes. And you can see there, they're the themes that come with the WordPress installation. We're going to add some of our own. And I'm going to click Upload. Now, when you download a purchased premium theme, it will come with a bunch of files. We're going to install an Oshine theme, and we're going to install a child theme that comes with the Oshine buyers package. Alright, so I'm going to jump into the Oshine buyers package here, and you can see here I've got Oshine zip and I've got Oshine child zip. They're the two files I need to upload. Oshine zip is much bigger, it's 27 megabytes. Oshine child is only 185 kilobytes. As we discussed in class, the child theme leverages all of the power of the parent theme, but when we need to update our theme, because there's a newer release, we can just update Oshine. The child theme just stays unaffected and we work with the child theme at all times. I'm going to upload oshine.zip first, and it will take some time. I may pause the video again. Yeah, it's uploading a little bit slowly, so I'm going to pause the video here. As soon as this is finished uploading, I will start again. Alright, now we can see that our oshine.zip theme folder has uploaded. To demonstrate the entire upload process, I'm now going to also upload oshine.zip. Child. Oshine child.zip. It's a very small file, so that'll happen quite quickly. Okay, so that's done now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to close this tab and I'm going to go back to my file manager, and I'm going to hit the reload button so I can now see everything that's in there. And I need to extract these folders now, so I'm going to right click and choose to extract. I'm not going to change the location. I want to extract to the same location I'm currently in, and I'll do that with both of these. And now I'll reload again. You can leave these here, but there's no point having 26 megabytes of space just sitting randomly on your hosting platform that you don't need, so it's safe to delete them now because I have these two up here. And because we've uploaded these on the actual server using the file manager, if I go back into my Manage Themes page and refresh the page, I can now see that I have Oshine and Oshine Child. Now, if you feel more comfortable adding a new theme from here and trying it without leaving this page at all, go for it. If you have any issues though, I suggest you do it the way that I've just shown to avoid those issues. I'm not going to dwell on the next point too much, but there are some server requirements for the Oshine theme, and if you go to the Oshine theme product page on the Theme Forest website, it's very easy to find the Oshine server requirements. What we've just done by uploading with the file manager means we don't have to worry so much about those server requirements, and they can be quite tricky on some hosts to change. That's something you can look up on your own if you do need to improve your server requirements a little bit, or you can ask your hosting platform to do it for you. So now that I've got Oshine on here and Oshine Child, I'm going to activate Oshine Child. Keep in mind, it's very important to put in a real license number for future updates and support from the Oshine team. So now that I've activated that, you can see I've got an Oshine tab here and Oshine options here. So when we were looking at this together in class, we learned that there's a lot of Oshine options we should change first. But I'm going to go through all of these steps. This is quite intuitive. It really lays it out for you. It's very easy what you need to do now. So the first thing we want to do is install all of our plugins. So I'm going to hit install and activate. If this takes too long, again, I'll probably pause the video. I might just take this opportunity to point out one more time that if things like this are taking a really long time, it's another good indicator that your hosting platform might not be up to scratch. So if it really, really takes a long time, consider speaking to your hosting provider or getting a new hosting account and just changing the name servers on the Freenom website where your domain is, or in your case, if it's another domain with Crazy Domains or GoDaddy, just change the name servers and just start again. It's going to be a lot less painful than working with a really slow installation moving forward. Every single thing you want to do will take forever. That includes small changes. So as you can see, this is going through quite quickly. Sometimes it gets hung on the Slider Revolution plugin. I believe that's got something to do with the fact that Slider Revolution is, of its own accord, a premium plugin. And you are allowed to use it as part of this theme. That's not the issue, but I just think that sometimes it gets a bit hung. Now this special Oshine tab here with this little install plugins section is really just a bonus. We don't have to use this install plugins section here. We can just go to plugins, as you would with plenty of other themes, and install our plugins from there. So if this takes too much longer, I may just decide to jump into the plugins section, see if it's there, and activate it from there. Alright, I'm going to jump over to plugins now. Those should be all good, so we might just have to do one or two more. And as you can see here, Slider Revolution wasn't quite activated. We might still need to install one Tatsu plugin. Alright, so that's activated now. I might go back to the Oshine tab and just check that again. So Tatsu still needs to be installed. That should work fine. And there we go. So we should see some pretty immediate changes on the front end of our site. That was what WordPress looked like before, and it's quite nice, the new WordPress standard theme. I'm just going to refresh that for a minute, and we will have a much different looking site now. So this is the very generic looking page of Oshine. This is our blog page because in our settings we still haven't changed our site to find a home page. So what we're going to do now is some of the first immediate basic settings I like to look at. And before I do that, I'm just going to create an empty home page. And I'm going to name it home, I'm going to publish it, and that's it for the moment. Now I'm going to go to my settings tab, and starting from general, we're going to go through most of these. Checked it out. This is where we could have changed our tagline if we weren't sure, or take it out altogether. Find your local time zone. Choose your formats for times and dates, and hit save. Now, if your WordPress installation was ever to change hands, or someone else becomes the administrator or something like that, as you see here, this address is used for admin purposes, so you can just change it here, and you would no longer receive emails about the WordPress install, somebody else would. Now, this is where we can, let's go to reading. This is where we can change our homepage from our latest posts, if we were working purely with a blog, to a static homepage, or what will become our homepage once we build it shortly. Save changes. And the last thing I'm going to look at in the immediate settings when we're getting started is permalinks. I'm going to choose post name. On the WordPress short course guide, there is some information, more information further down here about permalinks, and you can read up on permalinks a little bit more. But for our purposes, as for right now, we're just going to use the sample post. What that means is that when we're on our services page, for example, the URL will be our domain /services. It will be exactly what it's called, whatever we name it. And that will do for our project. Now, when I work on pages, especially if you're new to WordPress, it's very convenient to be able to work on the front end. If I go to Home now, which is a completely blank page, this is where we're going to start practicing with some modules. We can actually edit this page without leaving the page, so we can see what we're working on, and we have a bunch of concepts we can start with, which is very helpful when you're getting started. So I'll demonstrate that right now. I'm going to choose that one, and I can just click in here and start changing the text. It's really convenient. So for now, that can be my home page. When I'm finished working on it, I can hit save. And if I want to go back into the back end of WordPress, I can switch into tabs, obviously, but I can also hit dashboard up here. So keep that in mind. There's a blue dashboard button always there. Now, a few other changes. It's much easier to work your way through Oshine options down here than it is to try and style every page. What we get the opportunity to do inside of Oshine options is choose things like our background colors, our logo for each page, our typography, the size of our text. We get to choose what our navigation is going to look like on each page, and we can also apply some footer settings, how many columns are in our footer, what our actual bottom footer says, so where it might normally say copyright brand exponents, obviously we would want that to be our brand or our company. So we're going to start at the top. Going to go to General Settings. The Oshine Options panel is always available in the admin bar too, so when you're in the back end of WordPress, you can always click on that. Okay. Now, if you have set up a Google Analytics account for yourself, you can pop the code in there and it will put the ID on every page for you. Now we'll go to our logo, and I'm going to upload a logo now. I'll just pick something random. It's always good to put in an alt description as you upload an image. Alright, I'm going to save that, and just so we can see how things are working, I'm also going to have a look at the website. Alright, so it's probably a little bit big, but we'll fix that in a moment. Alright, so see, I'd forgotten to activate Tatsu. So even though I was getting some usability out of it, I hadn't actually activated it properly. That's why you saw that funny looking text down here. That's all of the coding that normally goes in for us, just by choosing that concept before on the home page. So just me choosing that concept there was putting in all that code for us. Now that I've activated that, if I refresh this page, everything should look fine. Alright, I'll resave this. Just going to jump back in for a moment, and I thought I was uploading a small icon size logo before, but I obviously wasn't. Yeah, so it's 1080 pixels by 1080. I'm just going to upload another one. See if I can't find a much smaller one. Alright, they're all quite big. Right, so I'm going to use the edit image command. I'm going to try and resize this from here. Alright, that looks good. And I'll just go back into Oshine options and start from this beginning a little bit there. So I'll remove that one and I will just re-add the new one, 200 by 200. Alright, so that looks a fair bit better. Alright, so that's logo done for now. Now we get to choose our colours. So if you already have some branding, it's important that you try to discover what your brand colours actually are. If you're not sure, you can use the colour picker and just try and pick the right colours. And I'll demonstrate how to do that now. So my header can have this dark blue background. And my footer widget area. Now the footer is the white, very bottom footer. Immediately above the footer widget area is the footer widget area, which is where we put things like a little description about our business, a small little sitemap with links to other parts of the website. We may also put some social media widgets in there, possibly a map, and it ends up being quite a lot bigger than that little footer there. So it's important that you put a useful colour in here. So just for now, I'm going to go with that. I'll show you what that looks like. So there's my header. I'll probably make that a little bit more grey, not so blue. And as soon as we add some footer widgets, which we haven't done yet, we will get to see our footer colours down there. Alright, it's going to take a little while for you to fully appreciate what making all these changes in here is going to do for us. But if I come down to colours now, and this is quite important, our main colour scheme. So when we choose a heading with icons, or when we choose various modules that have any colours in them, it might be the heading of certain tabs or just about anything that needs a colour, it's going to use the colour we choose here. So it becomes quite important. Okay, so hopefully that'll come together a little bit when we start adding some actual modules. Alright, so see how down there before that yellow icon that looked out of place for our back to top button, and now it's the colour I just chose. So as I say, our main colour scheme colour is quite important. Now I'm going to edit these manually a little bit. Alright, now we started off with choosing a concept, as you saw. I'm going to close any tabs I currently have open that show the home page so I don't leave multiples open. I don't want to be editing with Tatsu in 3 different windows and not knowing which one's the current one. That's one little mistake you don't want to be making. So I'm going to click Edit with Tatsu now. And I'm going to change the colour of this button. So as soon as I click on any module, any element in my page, I immediately get the options to make changes over here. I actually prefer using the text block features rather than the inline text features. My main reasons for that are quite often I've got a copy text document or another document that determines how my website's going to look, and I can't really copy and paste into here. If I try pasting into here, sometimes it brings across all sorts of weird formatting. But it's still good to learn and practice and get started with these inline text modules. Alright, so when I click on a button, I can start to make changes. Now this is in a fairly logical order most of the time. If I want a large button, I choose large. Okay, if I want to change the shape, alright, so rounded just means it's got slightly rounded corners. It might be a bit hard to make out in this video. I'm going to choose rectangular, and I'm also going to choose a different background color that suits what I'm working with. Now, until you know your actual hexadecimal values, you're probably just going to have to work with the color picker like that. I'll demonstrate how to change the background image in a moment. Now, obviously, I've got all sorts of different things here. I've got hover colors, all right? So if I want to choose a different hover color, at the moment, nothing's set. But if I want that to look different as I hover over it, I just change it. All right, same with the text. So I can change the color of the text as well. So I'll choose something similar, but just a little bit lighter so that my user can see a change and they know they're going to be clicking a button. I'm going to get rid of any border at all. I'm going to put 0 on this, and if I want to add an icon to my button, quite easy. do a search for the type of button I want, and I'm going to have mine pointing right, which also means I need to align my icon to the right. So that's quite easy as well. So as you can see, it's quite fun and it's quite intuitive. I'm going to change this button as well now. If I click onto nothing for a minute, come back, click on the buttons, that will take me back to buttons. If I'm working on a particular button and I want to get back to the button group, because we're working on a button group, okay, I can just click on this button here and then I get both buttons again. Okay, so this needs to be rectangular. I might leave the colours and everything look fine. And this one needs a border, obviously, because it's transparent. So that's looking good. I'm going to change the background image now. Some of the best background images you can get to use for your projects, if you don't already have images in mind that you want, is Unsplash. So I'm just going to quickly go to Unsplash. And I'm going to perform a search for digital marketing. I want to show some design skill combined with a bit of digital marketing that we offer. Now all images on Unsplash can be used for any purpose, commercial or non-commercial, and you do not have to credit the author. Obviously, if you have an opportunity to credit the author, you might choose to do that. I'm going to go for something completely different. I've started to incorporate some imagery like this into my business's designs because it's a point of difference. I think it creates interest and it makes people want to read on and learn more about what it is you're actually asking. So I'm going to grab this image here. Love the colour of the background. Or maybe this one. I'll go with this one. I'm going to download this for free. Now the only problem is the images are such good quality and so high res that they're quite often too big. This one here happens to be 2 megabytes, so it's way too big. I'm going to jump back into WordPress here and I'm going to go to Media Library. I'm going to drag that image in now. As soon as it uploads, I'm going to edit it and make it smaller. So if you're smart, what you'll probably do is if you've got a whole bunch of images, you can upload them to the media library, or just like we did with our file manager before, you can also go into, let's have a look, I'll show you quickly. So WP content, uploads, 2018. So if you drag all of your images in there when you first set up your site, you won't have to do all this uploading. Okay. So now I'm going to go back to Tatsu where I was working. I've uploaded my image. I'm going to find that. I forgot to edit it, didn't I? Just a minute. Okay, so I'm going to edit this image and I'm going to scale it 1600, maybe 1920. I'll try 1920 and see how big it is. I'm going to scale to there first. And that looks like it's done. I'm going to close that. I'm going to open this and see how big my image is. 284 kilobytes, so that's just perfect. That's great. I'm going to now upload the image again. It's still showing me. I'm just going to save my page for a moment to see if that refreshes what it's showing me. Alright, so what I've shown you here is really a great demonstration of why it's a good idea to upload and get your images all sorted beforehand, which is really what I should have done here. I'm going to actually close down Tatsu. I don't want to be working in there anymore because I need to actually start editing with Tatsu again before it's going to recognize that new image. But it's all a learning process, so hopefully that's taught you something. Now it's showing me 284 kilobytes and 1919 pixels. So I'm going to set that as the background image, and as you can see, that looks really nice. I'm going to choose to position it center, and cover means that we'll make the image only as large as it needs to be to completely cover the space or the element that it sits within. In other words, the section, okay, this section. So that's a good option. You can have a play around with the other settings there if you need to. This is obviously a full screen section. If I come down further, you can see that full screen section has been enabled. That means that it will choose to make it as large as the screen that the person viewing is on when they load the page. So if you're on a 1366 by 768 laptop, then it's going to fill that space nicely. And if you're on a really large iMac like what you're watching now, then it's going to fill that space nicely too. So I'm going to hit save. Whenever I want to, I can just view the page to see the changes. And that looks pretty good. You can see my hover transition there. Alright, so that'll do for basic settings. We'll play with some more modules in the next section. Okay, guys, now I'm going to go a little bit quick now. I want to show you the bulk of what you need to know quickly. I'm not going to be going on in as much detail about different modules and things like that. I'm just going to very quickly build a simple contact page, and we're going to use a bunch of different modules. I'm going to let what I do on the screen do most of the talking from here on out. So please follow along, and hopefully you'll have yourself building nice pages in no time. So I'm currently on pages looking at the home page, but what I really want is to be adding a new page. I'm going to click add new. I'm going to name this contact. I'm going to publish it. And as you can see, it gets the URL of contact given to it. I'm going to edit it with Tatsu. By the way, down the bottom here, I can choose between what header background I want. So if I want transparent or semi-transparent, I'm going to choose semi-transparent just because that's something you may not have seen yet. Update and then edit with Tatsu. Okay, before this video is out, I will also set the main menu. Alright, so in our top section here, we need a background image. And I'm going to add a contact form. And make it a 2-column form, and the border color can be white. I'm going to save that and see what it looks like. Now with semi-transparent pages, with semi-transparent headers, sometimes you need to put some spacing in the top here. So I'm going to click into the section and I'm going to add a lot of padding at the top. And the reason for that is that the semi-transparent header it's not a block element. It lets things live up underneath it. Okay. Now above the contact form, when we want to add modules, we can just float over existing modules at the top of the module or the bottom of the module to get a plus icon, and that means we can add something above it or something below it. So I'm just going to add contact us here, and that can be the heading 1, and I can change the color. If you haven't toggled the little toggle button for your text blocks, make sure you do that. White. And I'm going to float down the bottom of that section. I want to make sure people are going to be able to see what they're writing, what they're typing on here. So I think I might add a bit of an overlay to my background image, just a slightly black overlay. %40 will do. I'm going to save my page, and I'm going to right click down the bottom of this section to add a new section. And in my new section, I'm going to try and add a Google map. Now, it might not let me, but we'll have a look. And I'll tell you why it doesn't let you. Because the API key is missing. So we need to get an API key, which allows us to leverage Google Maps. Get a key. All right, so create a project. Make sure you can log into Google. Alright, there's my API key. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my dashboard and Oshine options, global site layout probably. And Google Maps API key goes in here. Similarly, you can get an Instagram access token from Instagram for your footer widgets and things like that. I'm going to save changes there and see if that doesn't fix this little problem for us. I'm going to hit save. View page. No, it looks like it hasn't quite worked yet. Let's try that again. Just delete that and we'll try and add another Google map and see what happens. Alright, so you can see it's working now. Or it started to work. Let's just have a look in here. What you need to do is you need to get an exact address or the exact latitude and longitude. So there is another way you can do this that you might like. I'm going to actually go to Google Maps for a minute. and I'm going to do a search for my business. And I'm going to click on share and embed map. Now I can customize the size of this. I don't really like this square looking one that I've got here, so I'm going to change to a custom size, and I'm going to say 1920 by 600. Preview that. That's probably a good size. Yep. I'm going to copy that code just there. I'm going to delete that. Instead, I'm going to use a text block. And I'm going to go to the text view of the text block, and I'm going to paste my code in there. Okay, there's the map showing up there. Let's have a look if it works on here. Okay, very good. Now, a little trick I'll show you is that instead of making it 1920 by 600, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to inspect this code. I'm going to say 100%. And I'm only going to make it 400 high. So now it's going to be the right width no matter what. So that looks nice. We'll leave that. And if I wanted to, I could click on this section here. I'm going to add a row, and I'm going to split the row up into two. And I'm going to grab this text block, I might have to, text blocks that have code inside them sometimes are a little bit hard to grab. What I'm going to do is I'm going to paste that code again, 100% times 300 high, and that's working. I'm going to delete this block. And over here I'm going to add a text block, and I'm just going to start putting some contact information in here. Now I'll show you a little trick. If you don't want that to show up with such huge spacing, come into the text view like this, and it will neaten that up for you. Alright, so I'll just get rid of that row we didn't need. And there's only a couple more things this page might need, and that is a link for our phone number. So just highlight the text there, put a link in, click settings. For telephone numbers, you just need the URL to be tel:+ and then the phone number. Okay, just like that. And that is now a telephone link. And you can do the same with that one there, except it would be a mail to. With mail links, WordPress is usually pretty good at figuring out that you want to. See how it's already said mail to? So we just hit apply, and that's now a ready to go mail link. If you don't like the spacing, that can be changed in Oshine options, but what you can also do is you can just put a simple heading 1 there, or a heading 2, or a heading 3. Don't have the rest of your text in here like we do now. Just click on add a new text. Sorry, I meant to add a list there. Let's delete that. Let's float over this, add a new module, and we'll choose list. And you'll see lists are a bit different because lists allow me to choose some little icons next to them, so you can use the E icon and stuff like that if you like. So, or mail icon. So I could just quite simply put the email address there. If it wants to be a link, I would highlight it, turn it into a link. So that's probably a better option, really. Let's have a look. I'm going to say, well, at Pixelution. Highlight that, and that should find a link for me to mail to, and it does. Okay, so that's my first one done. On my second one, I'm going to use a phone icon. And if you use the search term mobile, I think there's other ones you can choose. Yeah, that's a nice one. Alright, so same as before, but this time we want the tel link. I'm going to borrow it from in here. Copy that. Jump back in here, list 2, and paste. There we go. So that's how we would handle that. So I'm just going to come in here, delete all that except for that heading at the top. And delete some of these list features I don't need. And we could put a couple more things there, obviously. If you want some social icons, let's pretend we want some social icons. Icon group, choose icon group. And all you need to do is choose whether or not you want that left aligned. Okay. And how big do you want the icon to be? What type of icon do you want? Get the idea, and then the URL down here. So the URL to your Facebook page. Alright, so there we go. Check this page out. And that looks pretty good. We can choose the way our form's going to look. We can, and where it's going to send mail to, which is obviously quite important. Alright, I just wanted to see something about the button. Let's go and have a look at our contact settings. Oshine options, contact settings. And we just need to pop the email address. We want to receive mail from people making queries on our site using our contact form. We just pop that email address in here. Okay, so it says mail was sent successfully, but hopefully in class you'll have learned what to do if there's any issues with the mail. Alright guys, before we finish up, I'm going to set the menu. Building menus should be fun. Now, first thing is you've got to have some pages to add to your menu, obviously. And for what it's worth, guys, I've just received an email with that from me filling out that form. So that worked quite nicely. I'm going to call this main, my initials, version 1, 0318, meaning March 18. You can name it anything, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to choose to add contact and home to my menu. And I want that to be my main menu. I can also set it as a footer menu and pull menu items into my footer. We're not going to really cover that now, but you can choose different locations for where your main menu is going to show up. So there's only a couple more things I'm going to show you, and that is, now let's have a look what our menu looks like. Okay, so that's working. Let's go to home for a minute. Let's go back. And if that's not the sort of menu you want, in Oshine options, after you've chosen your typography, and go into your global site layout, top header settings. There's two options. You can have a left header as well. I'll just quickly save that and show you what that looks like. Okay, so that'll give you a block down the side like that. Obviously, you'd need to build this a bit differently. Okay, now our header style. This is quite important. So at the moment I've got my logo on the left and my links in the middle. We can add cart buttons and search buttons over there if we want to. It's quite modern these days. I probably wouldn't, for this site, if it was a real one, I'd probably be going for something like style 8. Maybe style 7, because I want my logo on the left hand corner at the moment. And I can also choose a different hamburger style, so I can choose something a bit cool. I can also choose whether I want a left stack sliding menu or an overlay menu. Overlay looks pretty good. I'm going to also choose the background color, because I've been using a bit of a blue style for most of my coloring. I'm going to stick with that. And I just want to make my hamburger icon a little bit bigger. But apart from that, that's pretty good. I'll just save my changes so far. Okay, so hamburger icon settings. These ratios are good. By ratios I mean, if I'm going to go from the thickness of the bar being 2 pixels to say 4 pixels, I probably should almost double everything else. I won't quite double this number here, but I'll go to 30 and the gap can become about 8. We'll see what that looks like. Alright, so that's not too bad. It's still pretty small. And I need to change the colour of my navigation to white. So I'm going to go into my typography, navigation menu, and I'm going to make that white, or whitish at least. I'm going to make my menu icon a little bit bigger. There, now that's the size I wanted. That's come through nicely. And why hasn't that changed? It just hadn't changed because my theme color is the color that's used to show which page you're currently on, which means I might need a lighter overlay so that it doesn't contrast so much with this background. Alright guys, have fun. Hopefully that's enough to get you through, at least to the point where you're creating some nice pages. Enjoy.